Hello Nikki, hello Transport Evolved, and thank you very much to Michael for stepping in on Monday when I wasn't around because it was bank holiday weekend in the UK and I was out and about. I'm not going to join in the discussion about tyre sizes and things like that and exhaust sizes because my experience of exhaust sizes is that they should be fat with a pH and tyre sizes nothing at all. It comes in that part of the automotive world that I don't really have a lot of knowledge about other than my teen friends wanting a big exhaust because it was noisy. So I'm going to stay out of that. Names and cars. That's really interesting because you can get to the point where it becomes gimmicky, and I think the Chevy Volt approaches that line quite closely. I'm not sure if it crosses it, but when you start naming these cars with something to do with electricity, so amp, volt, kilowatt, those kind of things, it does sound gimmicky. I don't mind it so much in homemade cars and components that go in cars and things like that. So you can get measurement devices for your house to tell you how much power you're using called the kilowatts, and that I think works. But for a car, it kind of goes into territory where you don't want these manufacturers to be treating the car like a marketing exercise. I think that's how it feels to me, is with those gimmicky names, it feels like the car is a, look at us, look at what we're doing, we're so clever, rather than this is just a car we're producing. I quite liked Tesla's style. The Model S, the Model X, and the Model T would fit with that really well, but I think them dropping that name has more to do with the legalities around it than anything else. I was going to suggest the Model T because that fits with the Henry Ford model quite well of the first mass market car, and I like that parallel that Tesla has been going along with, but it doesn't have to be. But seeing as they have the Roadster, the Model S, the model letter suffix or name for these cars hasn't really been that ingrained into their brand, so I think they'd be okay to move to something else. What it is, I don't know. One thing I do believe is that people should avoid the Renault style of naming their cars, which is just giving them names, and generally female names, because I do believe that polarizes the audience. I don't want to be driving in a car that's called Zoe. I don't want to be driving in a car that is another female name, because that's not what I want. It gives the car those elements of femininity, which I don't particularly want in a car. And I think it's quite a brave manufacturer, and I think it's quite brave of Renault to do that to a car, to give it a very female name. So then we're back to just random words that don't really mean anything. Ford Galaxy, it doesn't really mean anything. The Golf doesn't really mean anything. So I think the idea of just taking a word and making it your own is probably a good way for these companies to go for going forward. What did I want to talk to you about? UK politics. Sorry, US viewers and EU viewers. We have a very weird political kind of setup here at the moment because of our coalition government. And our Deputy Prime Minister, who's from our Liberal Party, announced last week, and we reported this, a £500 million investment, essentially, or a pledge into the world of electric cars to keep our incentive currently going and to do some research and to build a rapid charge network. Absolutely brilliant. A couple of days later, that same person who launched it, our Deputy Prime Minister, said that electric cars wouldn't work for him and his family because there are no family-sized electric cars, which, as we all know, is rubbish. But why does he have this view? I personally think because the last electric car that really entered the public consciousness, especially if you're London-based, was the G-Wiz. And I firmly believe that his view of electric cars, as with a lot of people in the UK, is based around the G-Wiz. And he just literally doesn't know that all these other cars exist. But I wondered, do you think that's the problem? Do you have a different view? What car do you think would be perfect for him? He currently drives a Ford Galaxy, so maybe a Model S isn't the car for him because he doesn't want to be seen to be driving around in a car that expensive. In which case, what other cars would be best for him? Or should he just bite the bullet and grab a Model S? Let me know. I'd love to know what you think. I shall see you tomorrow, Nikki. I shall see you tomorrow, Transport Evolved. I'm going to go and have some breakfast, even though it's midday. Bye-bye.